Hello everyone, Mr. Graham here, maker of Graham's Boomerangs, and today I'm just going to do a little tool tip for you guys. I have bought a DeWalt sander. This is the kind I use. It is made to go on an angle grinder. This is a DeWalt, it's a DW8329. I'll put a link in the description about this video to this tool. I'm going to load it up here on my bench grinder motor, which is also a DeWalt bench grinder. And this is the old one that's pretty well worn. Sometimes it's nice to have one that's worn a little bit more. But this one's a little bit too worn, so I'm going to replace it. You can see I've done some modification on this bench grinder motor. I had to replace this plate here with some wood, and then I put a work auger on here so to make this work. So I'm going to take this off of here and replace it. Okay, so there's the old one, and here's the new one. Now, you can see how I've got this spindle here, and this thing is not really made to go on here. So this is a work auger that I've added, and it's very secure and centered and everything, so it's going to be okay. But I don't know if I would really recommend doing this. This is really not the mounting method recommended for this to go on here. This is really made for an angle grinder. So as far as safety goes, you know, I've been doing it for years and years, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to someone who's getting started in boomerang making to use a disc like this. It's going to be real aggressive too when it first starts out. And you always want to wear safety equipment and wear eye protection and breathing protection, and I'll make sure that this is centered and doesn't have any not too much vibration. So it's wobbling just a little bit. So sometimes I'll loosen this and retighten it until I get it to not have any kind of wobble. And so sometimes I'll loosen it and just play with it just a little bit, and it's not bad. A lot of people will work on their boomerangs with a drum sander, and I have a little drum sander set up here. This is a Guinevere motor. These are really nice motors for crafters. They're probably not going to hold up to high production, but for intermittent use, and they're very good quality, and they're very quiet too. This is a very quiet motor, and I actually have two of these. I have one with the flexible shaft on it here, so I can have some finer tools or finer drums on there that you can sit and work with. And then this is you know, I'll use this as my second carving tool, but if I was going to get set up in carving boomerangs again, I might buy one of the sanders that had a drum on it and maybe a belt. The sanders like that would be maybe a little bit easier to work with, but this is very aggressive, and I can remove material very quickly with this sander. So I'm going to sand a boomerang. This is just an experimental boomerang that was the last piece of wood. And so this was the only really shape that I could get cut out of it. So it's not a boomerang that I make all the time. It's pretty much just an experiment. So we don't know how it's going to work exactly, but it was just the last of the piece of wood, and it was the only shape I could get out of it. So we'll see how it works. lighter we can go to the park and test it out. It's just an untried shape and we don't know exactly how it's going to fly. It's also out of my 5-ply plywood, a little heavier plywood, which is nice to carve when that's more aggressive. And then when it gets a little more worn down, it'll work good for the finer plywoods and the thinner plywoods. But being so aggressive, it's really nice on this a little bit, I don't want to say less quality plywood, but the plywood that's this plywood. It's got a little spot, a little bad spot in the wood here that needs to be filled. So I'll take care of that. That wood had a slight void in the end of it, so I'm gonna gather me up a pinch of sawdust and a little bit of glue here and make a little wood filler. Just mix that up. And push it into that little void in that wood there. It's not a bad one. Alright. And then when it dries, I'll sand that down, smooth it up. This is a new boomerang. We're going to test it out. It's just a shape made out of a scrap piece. So we're going to try it.